12. Transportation security planning and information sharing. 12.1201 definitions. The purpose of this title is the following apply. 1. The department means the Department of Homeland Security. Secretary, the Secretary means the Secretary of Homeland Security. 1202 transportation security strategic planning. A in general, section 114T1 B of Title 49 United States Code is amended to read as follows: Transportation Module Security Planning, addressing security risks, including threats, vulnerability, consequences, aviation, railroad, ferry, highway, maritime, pipeline, public transportation, over the road, bus, and other transportation infrastructure assets. Continent to the National Strategy for Transportation Security, Section 114T3 of such title is amended in one paragraph B, and inserting based on the risk of assessment conducted by the received Secretary of Homeland Security, including assessment conducted under the implementation recommendations of 9/11 Commission Act of 2007 after risk-based priorities. In paragraph 2, paragraphs D and striking and local, inserting local and tribal, and 2 and B in striking private sector cooperation participation, inserting cooperation participation by the private sector entities, including nonprofit employee labor organizations. These 3 in subparagraph E is in a striking response, inserting prevention response. B inserting and threatened executed acts of terrorism outside the United States to the extent such as acts of the United States and transportation system before the period ends. And 4, the subparagraph F, adding the end of the following: transportation security research development and projects shall be based on the extent practicable for such prioritization. Proceeding the sentence shall be construed to require termination of any research development projected initiated by the Secretary of Homeland Security or Secretary of Transportation before the date of enactment and implementing recommendations of the 9/11 Commission Act of 2007, and 5 by adding the following: GA3 10-year budget of federal transportation security that will achieve priorities of the national strategy of transportation security. Methods of linking individual transportation security plans and programs contained within their planning address security plans. The inter-module transportation module security plan described at 1B, including the operational recovery plans expedited by the maximum extent practicable of the return operation advisory affected transportation system following a major terrorist attack on the system other than incidents. These plans are coordinated with the resumption of the trade protocols required under the Section 202 of the Safe Pro Act, Section United States Code 942, the National Maritime Transportation Security Planning required under the Section 70103A and Title 46 Periodic Progress Report, Section 114T4. The such title is amended in one subparagraph C as an A clause in I, inserting including transportation module security planning before the period at the end. B, then striking clause in 2, inserting the following: the content. 2, in content, each prior report submitted under the subparagraph shall include a minimum of the following: 1, recommendations of the improving implementation of national strategy for transportation security and transportation module and inter-module security plans of Secretary of Homeland Security in consultation with Secretary of Transportation considered appropriate. 2, the accountant of all grants of transportation security, including grants, contracts, research, development, award of Secretary of Homeland Security in the most recent fiscal year's description of how such grants accomplished the goals of national strategic transportation and security. 3, the accountant of all AA funds. AA funds were requested by the President. Budget submitted by pursuant of the Section 1105 of the Title 31 must recently fiscal year of the transportation security by the mode of BB personnel working for the transportation security by mode, including the number of contractors, and CC information of turnover in the previous year among the senior staff of the Department of Homeland Security, including components agencies working of transportation security issues, and such information shall include the number of employees who have permanently left the office of agency area in which they worked and the amount of time in the work of the department. When 3, written explanation of the transportation security activities not delineated in the National Strategy for Transportation Security. At the end of each fiscal year, Secretary of Homeland Security to submit appropriate congressional committees and written explanations of federal transportation security activity consistent with the National Strategy of Transportation Security, including the amount of funds expended by the activity, number of personnel involved, and 2, by striking subparagraph E, inserting the following: A, appropriate for the congressional committees defined in subsection. The term appropriate congressional committees means the Committee on the Transportation Infrastructure and the Committee of Homeland Security of the House of Representatives, Committee of the Commerce, Science of Transportation, Committee of Homeland Security, Government Affairs, Committee of the Banking, Housing, and Urban areas of Senate. Priority status. D, the priority status is Section 114T5B of the such title is amended. 1, in clause of 3, the striking and at the end, and 2, by the redesignating clause of 4 and clause of 5, and 3 inserting the clause 3 of the following, and 4 transportation sector specifics planning required for Homeland Security Presidential Directive 7, and coordination of planning distribution of 1114T of such title is amended by the adding of the end of the following. Sixth, coordination carrying out the responsibilities for the Secretary of Homeland Security. Coordination of the Secretary of Transportation shall consult the appropriate federal, state, local agency, tribal governments, private sector entities, including non-profit, employee, labor organizations, institution, higher learning, other entities. 7. Plan distribution. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall make available appropriately publicized, unclassified versions of National Strategic Transportation, including the component of transportation module security to the federal, state, local, regional and tribal authorities, transportation state owners and operators, private sector stakeholders, and including nonprofit, employee, labor organizations representing transportation employees, institution, and higher learning, and other appropriate entities. Section 1203, Transportation Security Information Sharing 1 and A in general. Section 1114 in Title 49 United States Code is amended and adding the following. The Transportation Security Information Sharing 1 definitions in subsection A. The appropriate congressional committees of the term appropriate congressional committees has the mean giving in the subsection T. The B. The planning, the term planning, transportation information sharing established under the paragraph 2. C. The public-private stakeholders. The term public-private stakeholders means the federal, state, local agencies, or tribal governments, appropriate private entities, including nonprofit, employee, labor organizations representing transportation employees. D. The Secretary. The term Secretary means the Secretary of Homeland Security. E. The Transportation Security Information. The Transportation Security Information means information relating to the risk of transportation modes, including aviation, public transportation, railroad, ferry, highway, maritime, pipeline, over-the-road, busing, transportation may include specific general intelligence products as appropriate to the establishment plan. The Secretary of Homeland Security, in consultant with the program manager of the Information Sharing Environment, established under the Section 116 Intelligent Reform Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004, 6 United States Code 485, the Secretary of Transportation, public-private stakeholders established the Transportation Security Information Sharing Plan. In establishing the plan, the Secretary shall gather into the development of the plan of the private-public sector and to the program manager information sharing environmental established under the Section 116 Intelligent Reform Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004, 6 United States Code 485. 3. The purpose of the planning. The plan shall promote sharing transportation security information between the Department of Homeland Security, public and private stakeholders. 4. Content of plan. The plan should include a description of intelligence analysis. Department of Homeland Security will coordinate with the activities Department of the federal, state, local agencies, and tribal governments, including coordination with the existing module and information sharing center of the center described in Section 1410 of the Implementation Recommendation 9/11 Commission Acts of 2007. B. The establishment of a point of contact within may be a single point of contact within the Department of Homeland Security for each mode of the transportation sharing transportation security information within the public-private sector, including explanation, justification, appropriate congressional committee, and if the point of contact established and pursuant into the subparagraph differs from the agency of the department of the primary authority or has been delegated such authority of the Secretary to regulate the Secretary of the Transportation Mode. C. The responsible deadline by which the plan will be implemented, and D. The description resource needs of the fulfilling the plan. 5. The coordination with information sharing. The plan shall be implemented, coordinated as appropriate program manager and information sharing environmental established under Section 116 Intelligent and Intelligent Reform of Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004, 6 United States Code 485, and consistent with the consistent with the establishment of information sharing environmental any policy guidelines, procedures, and structure standards established by the President, Program Manager, Implementation Management, and Information Sharing Environmental. 6. Report in Congress A in general no later than 150 days after the day of enactment of the subsection annual. Therefore, the Secretary shall submit the appropriate congressional committees that a report containing the plan. B. The annual report no later than 1 year after the date of enactment of the subsection. Secretary shall submit the appropriate congressional committees that submit or report on updates of the implementation of the plan. 7. Survey report A in general. The Comptroller of the United States shall conduct a biennial survey of the satisfaction of the recipient of the transportation intelligence reports disseminated under the plan. B. Information sought. The survey conducted under subparagraph A shall seek information and quality, speed, regularity, classification, transportation security information products disseminated Department of Homeland Security to public, private stakeholders. C. Not less than 1 year later to the date of enactment. Implementation records of 9/11 Commission Act of 2007. Even the numbers year thereafter, Comptroller shall submit the appropriate congressional committees that report on result of surveys conducted under the subparagraph A. The Comptroller General shall provide a copy of the report to the Secretary as Secretary clearance. The Secretary shall have the greatest extent practicable take steps to expedite the security clearance needed for the designated public or private stakeholders to receive, obtain, and classified information distributed underneath the section of appropriate. 9. The classification of materials. Secretary, to the greatest extent of practicable, should provide designated public and private stakeholders within the transportation security information in the unclassified format. And B. The congressional oversight of the Secretary assurance for the public and private stakeholders of 49 U.S. Standard Code of 114. No. In general, except for the provided paragraph 2 and the reports, the Secretary shall provide a semi-annual report of the Committee of the Homeland Security, Government Affairs, Committee of Commerce and Sense, Transportation, and the Committee of Bank, Housing, Urban Affairs, and Senate and Committee of the Homeland Security, Committee on the Transportation Infrastructure of the Housing Representatives. That includes A. The number of private stakeholders who provide each report. B. The description of the measure of Secretary taken under this section 114 U.S. or U7 of Title 49 United States added to the section, otherwise to ensure the proper treatment and security for any classified information to be shared with the public-private stakeholder under the plan. See the explanation of the reason for the denial of transportation security information to any stakeholder who had previously received information. No report required. No changes in stakeholders. The Secretary is required to provide a semi-annual report under paragraph 1. If no stakeholders have been added to the removed from groups of the person within whom the transportation security information is shared under the plan since their period covered the last preceding semi-annual report. Establishment 6 United States Code 1102 Section 1204 National Domestic Preparedness and Consortment. A. In general, the Secretary is authorized to establish, operate, maintain national domestic prepared consortment of the Department members. B. The members of the National Domestic Prepared Consortment shall consist of 1. The Center of Domestic Preparedness, 2. The National Energetic and Material Research Testing Center, New Mexico Instituting of Mining and Technology. 3. The National Center of Biomedical Research Training, Louisiana State University. The National Emergency Response Rescue Training Center, Texas A&M University. The National Expertise Test and Training Center of the Nevada Testing Site. The Transportation Technology Center incorporated with Pablo, Colorado. The National Disaster Prepared Training Center, University of Hawaii. Duties. C. The duties of the National Domestic Prepared Consortment shall identify, develop, and test and deliver training to the state, local, and tribal emergencies response providers, provide on-state, mobile, performance management, and planning levels of facility delivery and training partners of the department. Authorizing appropriations. The authorized appropriated for the Secretary of the Center of the Domestic Preparedness $57 million for the fiscal year of 2008, $60 million for the fiscal year of 2009, $63 million for the fiscal year of 2010, and $66 million for the fiscal year of 2011. And the National Energetic Material Research Testing Center, the National Center of the Biomedical Research Training and National Emergency Response Rescue Training Center, the National Exercise Testing and Training Center, the Transportation Technology Center, Incorporated National Disaster Prepared Training Center. Each $22 million for the first year or fiscal year of 2008, $23 million for 2009, $24 million for 2010, $25 million and $500,000 for 2011. Saving provisions from the amounts appropriated with the pursuant to this section. Secretary shall ensure the future amounts provided to each of the following entities are not less than the amounts provided to each such entity participation consortment in the fiscal year of 2007. And 1. The Central Domestic Preparedness, National Energetic Material Research Testing Center, New Mexico Institute of Mining Technologies. 3. The National Center of Biomedical Research and Training, Louisiana State University. National Emergency Response Rescue Training Center of Texas A&M and the National Exercise Testing Training Center and Nevada Testing Site. Section 1205, National Transportation Security Center of Excellence Establishment. The Secretary establishes the National Transportation Security Center of Excellence to conduct research and education activities and to develop and provide professional security training, including training transportation employees, transportation professionals. B. Designation of transportation. The Secretary shall select one of the institutions identified by the subsection of the lead institution responsibility coordinating the National Transportation Security Center of the Excellence. See the member institution consortment in higher education selected under subsection B shall execute agreements within the other institutions of higher education identified in this subsection. Institutes designated Secretary to develop consortment with the to assist the accomplishment of the goals of the center. Members of the National Transportation Security of the Center of the Excellence so consists of Texas Southern University in Houston, Texas, National Transit Institute, Rogers, the State of University in New Jersey, Tugel colleague, the Connecticut Transportation Institute at the University of Connecticut, the Homeland Security Management Institution, Long Island University, the Mac Blackwell National Rural Transportation Study Center of the the University of Arkansas, the additional institution facility designated by the Secretary. Three certain inclusions to extend the practicable. The Secretary shall ensure the appropriate number of additional consortium colleagues on the university designated in the Secretary subsection historical black colleagues on the University of Hispanic Serving Institute, Indian Tribal Controlled Colleges, University authorization appropriations. These are appropriated to carry out the sections of $8 million for the first year, fiscal year 2008, $8 million for the fiscal year 2009, $18 million for the fiscal year 2010, and $8 million for the fiscal year 2011. 69 States Code 1104, Section 1206, immunity of reports suspected terrorist activities of suspicious behavior in response. Immunity for the reports of suspected terrorist activities and suspicious behavior in general. Any person who is in good faith based on an objective responsible suspicion makes a cause to be made a voluntary report of covered activity to an authorized official should immune the civil liability for the federal, state, local, and for source reports. False reports. Paragraph 1 should not apply to any of the report person who knew to be the false whom was made by the disregard of the truth at the time of the person who made the report. Immunity of the response in general. The authorized official who observes or receives and recovered of activities term responsibility in the good faith to respond to such activities shall be qualified. Immunity, civil liability for such action consistent with this applicable law, relevant jurisdiction. Authorized official as defined in subsection D1A and not entitled to assert to the defense of the qualified immunity, so in other words may be immune for civil liability under federal, state, local law, and such authorized takes any responsible action in good faith to the respondent of reported activity. To the same clause, nothing in subsection shall affect the availability of an authorized official to assert the defense privilege immunity that would otherwise be available in subsection should not be construed as affecting any of the defense privilege and immunity. Attorney fees and costs. Any person authorized official found to be immune from a civil liability under section shall be entitled to recover from plaintiff all responsible costs and attorney fees. Definitions in section. Authorized official. The term authorized official means a employee grant agreement agent and passenger transportation system of the person responsible relating to the secretary of such systems. Any officer, employee, agent, department, Homeland Security, Department of Transportation, Homeland of Department of Justice, and responsibility relating to the secretary passenger transportation system. Any federal, state, local, and enforcement officer. 2. The covered activity. The term of covered activity means in any specific transaction, activity, occurrence that involves directed against the passenger transportation system, a vehicle, passenger, indicating the individual may engage in preparing to engage in violation of a law relating to A. the threat of passenger transportation system, passenger safety, and security. B. in any act of terrorism as the term is defined in Section 3077 of Title 18 of the United States Code. Passenger transportation. The term passenger transportation means A. the public transportation is defined in Section 5302 as Title 49 United States Code. Over in the road busing and transportation is defined as Title 15 of this Act. School bus transportation. Intercity mass passenger railroad transportation is defined in 24102 of Title 49 United States Code of Transportation. Passengers on passenger vessels defined in Section 2101 of Title 46 United States Code. B. the regular scheduled waterborne transportation service passengers by vessel of at least 20 gross tons, and air transportation defined as 40102 of Title 49 United States Code as passenger transportation systems. The term passenger transportation system means that any entities organized provides passenger transportation using vehicles, including infrastructure used to provide such transportation. The vehicle term mean giving the term Section 1992 and 16 of the Title 18 United States Code. Effective date. This section shall take effect after October 1st, 2006. Shall apply to all activities claims occurring on or after each such date. Title 13 Transportation Security Enhancements.